Welcome to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with your host, Rosalind Sedaka. Join Rosalind each week on a journey toward overcoming life's many challenges to achieve peace, empowerment, and positive transformation. It's time to relax, unwind, and transform your life with Rosalind Sedaka.
Hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Sedaka, and you're listening to WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. And this program is Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living. It's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. I love talking about issues related to divorce and dating, again, after divorce and breakups, as well as how to live a full, empowered, rich, and spiritually prosperous life. And I'm going to introduce you today to someone very special to me, and that is my partner and co-author, and also she's going to be co-host of this program, and her name is Amy Sherman. And Amy is not only all those things, she's also my sister and best friend. So we love working together, collaborating together, and I want to let her introduce herself to you and tell you about her. Amy, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, Roz. Yes, hi, everybody. I am a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida and also a dating and relationship coach. And I have worked in the counseling field for over 20 years, working with different types of people dealing with different issues, mainly substance abuse issues, domestic abuse issues, anger management, anxiety. So I've seen the gamut. And most people, when they're having their issues with anxiety and depression and anger, usually are in relationships. So working now with single people, directing them to find nurturing, healthy relationships is very important to me now because I understand and I see from all the clients that I have worked with, it is such an important issue to understand how to develop a healthy, happy, long-term, satisfying relationship. And that's what I've been working on really for the last 20 years.
And Amy has been the co-author with me on our printed book, which is called 99 Things Women Wish They Knew Before Dating After 40, 50, and yes, 60. That title is a mouthful, but it's very important and a topic that's very significant for both of us because when women are dating in midlife, they bring a lot of baggage with them and past experience, and not all of it has been positive for them. So we put together 99 tips, and we did that because dating in midlife is a very special time. It's a time where you're in a different headspace than when you were in your 20s and 30s. But I want you to know that this conversation is equally relevant for you if you are in your 20s and 30s because it'll save you a lot of years of aggravation and wasted energy if you get some of the tips we're going to be talking about today. So, Amy, let's start by reflecting on what in your practice is one of the most important messages that you give to women who are getting out of a relationship, whether it's due to divorce or a death or just a serious breakup or whatever it is. What's the most important advice you share with them?
The first thing that I talk to women about, and of course men as well, is the fact that you need to be aware. You need to be aware of how you're feeling, what you're thinking, how you're behaving. Those are the three important parameters in understanding how you could change what you're experiencing. Because we cannot go through life clueless. And we know, and I put quotes around that word, because there are so many people who come to counseling and coaching who are totally clueless, blaming the other person as to, for why their relationship is not successful. So first and foremost, be aware. And when somebody comes to therapy or coaching, they're coming because they know there's something wrong. We all know the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If you continue doing that, just doing the same behaviors you've always done, thinking the same way you always have, feeling the same way you've always been feeling, nothing is going to change. So I think the best advice for anybody at any age is to be aware of where you are right now.
I love that you bring up awareness because to me that is the primary thing. We can't begin and start making any changes and shifts in our lives unless we start with that awareness. And for some people it is harder than for others. I used to teach the ACT formula, which is awareness, choices, and tools. And everything begins with being able to say, this is what's happening for me right now, and I know I don't want to stay in this place. I want to move on. And only then can we make new choices and better choices, because life is all about choices. We make decisions and choices, and then our life is a reflection of those. But if we don't stop and change the choices and decisions that we make, we're going to keep getting, as you said, the craziness of the same results over and over again. And too many people are really stuck like that. And it's especially sad when it's single people who really want something new and better and fulfilling in their lives.
I had a couple this week who were having a difficult time in their relationship. And I said to both of them, what are you willing to do to change what's happening? Because all we need to do is to be aware of your part in the relationship, how you're behaving, what you're doing that maybe your partner may not like, and the same thing, your partner should be aware. So I said to both of them, what are you each willing to do to make it better? So the woman, she said, after we discussed a lot of things and her partner was telling her what's going on with him and how he's feeling, she said that she's willing to do this, that, and that. She made some changes. And when I asked him, he said, I don't know. So that's something very significant because you can't have a decent, healthy, nurturing relationship if it's one-sided, where one person is willing to do all the work and the other person is saying, well, you change and I'll be happy. So it's awareness again, being insightful, and then of course being willing to make those changes. It's not easy to change, and it's not easy to admit that you may be having a part in the problems in the relationship. But if you are willing to do that, then your relationship could certainly blossom.
Yes, and fortunately, relationships can shift even if only one party is making the changes. It doesn't work as effectively, nearly as quickly, but if you shift and do things differently, your partner will react differently. And so things can be different in your life as a result. But it's much better if the partner is able to stop and think. And I bet you gave him homework, Amy, to think about and reflect on this so that he may be able to come up with some things. Maybe not at the moment, but hopefully by the next time he sees you.
Yes, I hope so. You're right. Many times, however, in relationships, one partner feels it's the other person's problem, and that they have to change. So that always causes difficulties in the relationship. I definitely saw that when I ran the domestic abuse program, and that is a red flag for sure, that you need to watch out for.
Yes, which reminds me of important relationship advice for singles, and that is make sure your priorities are really straight and you're not more focused on physical appearance and other things than on the character and quality and the values of the person that you're looking for, because that is going to be long-lasting as you age together, while height and weight and color of hair and things like that are much more superficial. They may make for great sexual chemistry initially, but no sexual chemistry can compensate for a poor relationship, and I'm sure most of our listeners have experienced that in the long term. So we need to be prioritizing properly so that we're looking for people who share values with us and care about the important things that we care about in similar ways, so at least we're starting on the same footing. Because life throws a lot of wrenches at us all, and there's no guarantees about what's going to happen in the future in terms of health, in terms of career, and other obstacles that come along. But if we're starting out with some shared values and beliefs and goals, it makes for an easier way of overcoming some obstacles in life. Do you have any feedback on that?
Yeah, I was just going to agree. A relationship should start off with a very strong foundation. And what that means is, it's the things you share and the interests that you have and the things that you enjoy about the other person builds a foundation in the relationship. The other things are the icing, so to speak. All the other things that are, if he's tall, that's great. You wanted that. If he's not bald and he has hair, that's great too. But the integrity, the values that you were talking about, that's all the foundation of a good relationship.
We need to take a quick break, and this is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network with Rosalind Sadaka, and the show is Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living. We'll be right back.
Hi, everyone. This is Lisa Copeland, the host of the You Can Find Love After 50 show. You can catch my show on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, where we'll talk about how you can find love after 50. On the WGSN-DB Going Solo Network.
You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio Channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Hi, we're back. And again, this is WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network with Rosalind Sadaka. And our guest today is my co-host, Amy Sherman, licensed mental health counselor. Amy, you were talking about some very important criteria that people should be looking for when they're starting a new relationship. So move ahead on that.
Yes, I was just talking about the solid foundation you have to build and looking for a person who has the same values, the same interests, the same perhaps family background, educational background, financial security. Things that you really feel are very, very important to you will lay a very strong foundation. And other things that are maybe not as important just are icing on the cake, so to speak. So I always advise my clients that if they are looking and they're dating, they should look for qualities that they really want their partner to have. Also to be sure that they have those same qualities in themselves, honesty, trustworthiness, sincerity, things like that. You want to be sure that you're exuding those same qualities because somebody is looking for those in you as well.
That's an important point you're making there because sometimes we get very highfalutin about we're looking for someone who has this and that and the other thing. And if we turn within, are we being totally candid about that in ourselves? Are we making as good a partner as the people we're trying to attract into our lives? So thank you for bringing that up. And what else do we need to keep in mind when we're out there and we're starting to look for someone in a healthy relationship, in an empowered relationship for us?
What I advise women especially, and of course this is true for men, but women especially we are by nature nurturers. We give of ourselves. And I feel that women very often in a relationship will sacrifice who they are because of the relationship. In other words, and I've had this happen, or women tell me this often, they've lost weight, obviously, to look better when they're dating, and then they meet a guy and they go out to eat 5 times a week, and they wind up putting their weight back on. So I say to them, well, why don't you tell him, it's too much, you don't want to go out so often? And their response very often is, well, he wants to do it and I don't want him not to do what he wants to do. So here these women are sacrificing themselves for the sake of the relationship, and I think that's not fair. I think women need to stay empowered in their relationship. They need to stick to their own values that are important to them, keep their integrity, care about themselves enough so that they don't sacrifice. There's nothing wrong with going out to eat, but if it's going to put weight back on that you took off because you really want to feel good and look better, then you're sacrificing who you are for the relationship, and that's a no-no.
And that obviously brings us to talking about empowered living and that's why I added that to the title of our show, Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living, because life isn't worth living if we're not living from a sense of personal empowerment, which to me means coming from a place where we're overall happy with ourselves. Sure, we all have faults and flaws, and there are things that we could look at and try to change and shift, but you need to come from a place of confidence and high self-esteem, knowing that you have value and worth, because otherwise that's when we really see women who allow themselves to fall into, slip into, propel themselves into really unhealthy relationships where they're being used and abused, they're being manipulated, or coerced, or disrespected in many other ways. And when you're coming from a sense of value and self-worth, that doesn't happen. The red flag warnings go on earlier, and you say, wait a minute, this isn't how I want to be treated, or wait a minute, this person isn't treating me respectfully. I'm not feeling valued here. I'm being stepped on. I'm feeling like a second-class citizen in this relationship. And we all need to have those boundaries and those red flags that come up and warn us, because it isn't worth, no matter how much you feel a sense of desperateness to be in a relationship, it's never in your best interest to be in one that's toxic. Can you talk more about that?
Yes, and before I do, I just want to bring up our 4 basic rights, because we all have these same rights. We have the right to think what we think. We have the right to feel what we feel. We have the right to want what we want. And we also have the right to say no. And this is so, so very important, because if we understand that if I think something and my partner does not agree with it, that's okay. We all have the right to think what we think. And nobody could make us feel less than. And you were talking about those red flags. And again, since I've worked with people in relationships that were abusive, physically, emotionally, sexually, financially, it's very paramount that they feel that they do not have these 4 basic rights. Understanding that when you have these 4 basic rights, your partner has it as well, and that means you respect each other. And that's the bottom line in a healthy relationship. If you don't feel that you have that, then the relationship is not healthy for you. It basically comes down to trusting your intuition. If it doesn't feel right, if something inside you is telling you, I don't know, he said something or she said something, it just doesn't feel right, trust it, because it's probably true. And that's that inner guidance that we all have that we shouldn't ignore. Now, many times people will say cruel things to each other, and if it's an isolated situation, okay, it happens. But if it's ongoing, and what happens in abusive relationships is it's insidious. It creeps up. You don't even realize it's happening. If you are constantly made to feel less than or unimportant, insignificant, crazy in your relationship, it means that there's something wrong, and you need to, to the best of your ability, get out as soon as possible.
Well, that's really, really valuable advice, and I know we've spanned a very broad horizons in a very short time here, but this is a good overview of the most important, essential criteria for making relationship choices, and understanding your boundaries and not letting someone else step over your boundaries and step into your life in a way that's disrespectful for you and disempowering for you. So these are the kinds of topics we're going to be talking about on this show, and we're going to get into more nitty-gritty subjects from session to session, time to time, so that we can provide more depth about a specific topic. But we wanted to give you today an overview of our thinking, our philosophy, and the things that we hold dear. So, Amy, I just wanted you to give some last words of wisdom to share with our listeners, and I know they'll be looking forward to hearing back from you again.
Yes, I just want to leave you with one simple little statement. Remember that anything is possible, and that what you want to experience in your life is a possibility. So be open to it, open your heart, wherever you are. Keep your heart open because you never know when you're going to meet somebody, and that person could be Mr. or Mrs. Right. So just go with the thought that anything is possible, and it's rewarding, fulfilling, and it gives you a sense of hopefulness, which is very important when you're out there in the dating realm.
Absolutely. So this is Rosalind Sedaka. I want to leave you with a sense of excitement about joining us every week as we discuss topics related to getting through a divorce, getting through the dating world, and living in the most empowered, positive, fulfilling way possible for you, and also being a role model for your children so that you share what you learn and give them the wisdom so that you could eliminate a lot of the pain and heartache that so many of us have developed learning the hard way through the school of hard knocks. I've often wished that my mother had given me the insights that Amy and I have attained later in life so that we would have been able to understand these things and avoid some of the serious relationship mistakes and heartbreak that we experience. So you can be a good role model for your children, and you could live a more empowered life if you really take to heart the kind of information and advice we're providing. So once again, this is Rosalind Sedaka. We're on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and the name of this show is Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living, and we look forward to talking with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.